Alexa, wakey, wakey, Jake the Snakey. I'm up here on my future sidekick. Tonight is the night, Alexa. Now is the perfect time to eliminate Mayor Aaron so we can begin our channel and stop LumberJillville once and for all.
And how do we do that?
Why, we kill Mayor Aaron. Yes, we kill him while he sleeps. I feasted on the souls of LJV, but I'm hungry, and I want his. But first, we have to take him out. Then his soul is mine.
Kill? But how am I supposed to take him out?
Look under the bed, Alexa. I left you a present. Grab it and meet me at Mayor Aaron's house. It ends tonight. All you have to do now is cut him ear to ear. This is your test to be my sidekick. Once he's perished, I can take his soul.
I'm ready to finally end Mayor Aaron's tyrannical rule. After I finish the job, this channel will finally be ours.
Yes. That's the spirit, Alexa. Now go ahead. The first stab must go in strong and deep. Alexa, what have you done?
I'm nobody's sidekick, especially not yours. But what I am is a co-mayor. Aaron's co-mayor.
You've betrayed me for that lying mayor.
I knew I was an Alexa Bliss figure this whole time. I help run the channel, how could I not? I knew I had to trick you to get close to you. No one's going to take LumberJillville, especially not Ronald McDonald.
Alexa, there's something I need to tell you before I bleed out.
Last words? Are they? Would you like fries with that?
No, it's just that you can't kill me. Now it's time for you to suffer like all of your friends.
Put her down, you freak.
Oh man. Another dream, another fake marriage to Dakota Kai. Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now, I don't know what's going on. The Robo Tamina said they have something to show me on camera, but before I get to that, I just wanted to do a review. And I was so ecstatic to see in the mail that I got my AEW Unrivaled Series 16 Julia Hart. Now, this figure looks amazing. Now, how amazing is it? Well, let's open it up and find out, because there are some very important things, very important notes that you need to watch to make sure that you don't make the same mistake that a lot of people did that opened the figure. And you'll see what I'm talking about in the review. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at this figure, starting with the packaging. So starting out with the packaging, I've said it on the channel before, I honestly think that the Jazwares AEW line has the best looking toy packaging out there on the shelves. I just absolutely love the design, the shape, the overall aesthetic of it. It's just awesome. And I love that between the Unrivaled line, the Unmatched line, and even the exclusive lines like that Britt Baker Target exclusive or some of the store exclusives. It's the overall same design, same shape. The only thing that's different is the colors. And I just think that's so cool. But here we're looking at an Unrivaled series package, which means it's going to be black and gold in theme, which looks really, really good. We have an image of the mysterious and stunning Julia Hart on the front, her name on the side. She is number 160, which is crazy to think that they're that high right now. And then we have her figure displayed in the package. Now, this figure looks great displayed in the package, but I will say it's maybe one of those figures that you want to wait until you find it in stores to get one MOC. If you're going to open it, I would order it from Ringside, right? But if you're going to keep it MOC, definitely wait until you see it in stores. And the main reason being, I ordered a couple, and my second one, she looks like she's coming out of the package, right? So I don't think that hat stays on the best, and it kind of rattles a little bit. But either way, I'm going to probably open this one for my desk or something. But we're going to review this one today because this one does look better and scanned and everything. But I will say that they both do look really good. So keep that in mind. If you're looking to get this figure to display MOC, wait until you find it in stores. Or maybe go on eBay or something and find one that looks good on display in the package here. But as you can see, she comes with a lot of goodies. She has this black jacket, the hat, the mask. This figure looks awesome. I cannot wait to open it up. Now, on the back here, we have an image of Julia Hart with her little autograph there. And it says it's from Rampage of April 7th, 2023. We will see about that in the next section. But yeah, let's open this up and take a closer look at this figure. You know what? We are going to show the unboxing here, okay? Because it is Jill-O-Ween month, and every time I open an AEW women's figure, it's a massacre, so it's very fitting. So I'm just going to cut this piece of tape on the bottom. Open that up. Oh, we're going to try something different here today, guys. Here's what I'm going to say is, it's not the type of packaging, in my opinion, that you can comfortably open without completely damaging it and put the figure back in the package. So I usually just massacre. I just massacre the box. I mean, that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. So now we're just going to peel it back. Okay, and here we have Julia. Oh, this figure looks awesome. So I'm going to take some time and cut all the little plastic ties. And yeah, we're going to take a closer look here. All right, so this will be a first in a LumberJillville women's wrestling figure review. I'm going to show you how to take off the plastic because this figure, Kyle Peterson said it best when he said it looks like the figure is preparing to be eliminated by Dexter. I think that's hilarious because this figure is all plasticed up. I mean, look at all this plastic. So basically, the leg ones just slide off. But we'll get to this one, which is a bit of a controversy at the moment. We'll take off that leg one, the arm one. She got like a whole poncho on. Alright, so the arm one, it looks like it's taped. That will just slide off. Other arm one taped, slide off. Now, there's a reason why I'm showing you this. Okay. So, there's a midsection one, which we will cut this torso one very carefully. Alright. I have a method to what I'm doing here today, guys. Alright. So, this is where the controversy kind of kicks in here. So, I've seen multiple reports. Kyle Peterson, Mark from the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, saw this plastic that's kind of up around her neck and tried popping the head off. when they tried popping the head off, it broke. And Mark on the Major Wrestling Figure podcast said that it's a different head joint, that the head's not supposed to pop off, which every AEW women's figure in the past, the head was easily popped off, but he said this one isn't meant to, so we're not going to test fate. We're not going to even heat it up and try to pop the head off. There's just no reason to do that, so I'm not going to do that. But it's interesting if it is a different head connection than what they've had in the past, which I prefer because the heads don't really need to be removable unless there's a separate head, because what it does is if it doesn't sit nicely on there, like I have a Nyla Rose that the head just falls right off if the wind blows the right way, right? So the head feels nice and secure and snug, so I'm not going to test fate. But to get this plastic off, I'm just going to carefully cut and just pull it off there. So yeah, it's real interesting that Mark said that it appears to be a different head joint up there, that the head sits on the neck and it's not supposed to pop off. I'm okay with that, especially because with these stupid joints in the neck, I cannot stand. That's one thing I wish that Jazwares would get rid of, is this joint in the neck, because it makes it very hard to switch the heads if you need to, and all it does is allow a little bit of forward head motion. There's just no reason for that joint whatsoever. Now, with that being said, let's get back on track with the review. AEW Jazwares Unrivaled Series 16 Julia Hart. This attire is from the April 7th, 2023 episode of AEW Rampage. On this night, Julia would defeat Anna Jay in the main event. Wow. That is my overall first impression of this figure. I mean, I'm shook. This figure looked cool when I was looking at images online, but I didn't expect it to be this freaking stunning in person. This figure is, I can't say enough good about it. And honestly, AEW and Jazwares put out some of the best women's wrestling figures out there. And there's a lot of reasons why, and I think the main reason is they show that they put a lot of care and attention to detail in their women's figures, both in the sculpting, the part choices, the accessories, all of it. And I think that's something that Mattel lacks a lot of times. Many a times, Mattel will reuse parts when it doesn't make sense, or leave out sculpting details that should be there, or give Bianca Belair a way too tiny waist for her 8th figure or whatever. But Jazwares AEW, when they release a women's wrestling figure, especially the last couple years, they show love. They show care. They show that if Mayor Aaron was part of a company and helped design, I mean, this is what I would want to see. This is what I would want produced, is a Julia Hart figure that looks like this. I mean, I could go on, but yeah. I've been really impressed with AEW Jazwares line, and I hope it continues strong, and I hope we get more women, because they do a fantastic job, and I feel like their women's figures get overlooked, and they shouldn't, because they are fantastic, and this Julia is fantastic. Now, I'm going to quit rambling, because we're going to cover everything that she comes with here, accessory-wise. So she comes packaged with hands that allow her to do multiple creepy Julia Hart poses, which is awesome, right? She also comes with 2 fist hands. She comes with this mask, which I was doing a little research, and I don't think she wore a mask on the night that this attire is from, but there's a different night that she wore this mask, and yeah, this mask has so much detail here. Look at this thing. It's got a little skull sculpted in the middle, a little horn coming out the side, details on it. We'll see how that fits in 1 second. And she also comes with a big black hat. And what really stands out is this robe. I mean, oh my goodness. So this hat's cool because you can put it on either way and it looks good, right? Now she does wear her hats kind of back like this. It's probably how I'll pose it for the thumbnail. But this hat fits nicely. And even if you put it backwards, it gives that kind of squarish type top that she wears sometimes. But yeah, this hat is great. I mean, it's perfect. The one thing I will say, looking at my other Julie I have, is some of the hats, when they come packaged, they're a little bent. The bills are a little bent, so you might need to heat them up to straighten them out. But this one I'm happy with, so I think it looks good. Now this robe, jacket, whatever you want to call it, it is a freaking work of art. I mean, it is amazing. It looks amazing on her. Now, taking it off is super easy. And as you can see, it's like a lace type material, very breathable, kind of see-through, but it doesn't feel cheap. It feels like a premium soft goods item because there's so much detail and stitch detail and layers going on in this that it's not going to show up on camera how it looks in front of me right now, if that makes sense. I mean, we have 3 layers on the bottom alone. The sleeves not only have multiple layers, but they're kind of ruffled a little bit. I can't say enough good about these soft goods. I mean, this turned out amazing. So yeah, as far as the accessories go, awesome. Actually, let's see how this mask goes on. Which I won't display her with the mask, but it's a cool option to have. And, oh, that's cool. Yeah, it fits on her perfect because it's got like that soft rubbery type band. Oh, that fits on her amazing. That mask looks cool. However, I got to display this figure without the mask, and we'll get to the reason why here next. But yeah, this mask is very cool. So this is the main reason why I don't want to display her with that mask, is because they did a tremendous job here with the sculpt, with the scan, with the detail. I think it looks amazing. And once again, I don't think the camera does it justice. It's crazy to say, but in hand, this looks like a miniature Julia Hart in figure form. It looks amazing. The sculpt is excellent. The scan is good. And the details that they put into this figure, I didn't realize until I had it in hand, including 2 different colored eyes. She has 2 different colored eyes. How freaking awesome is that? I popped huge when I took the figure out of the package. I was over the moon about it because that's such an amazing and important little detail that they didn't have to do, but they did, and it looks fantastic. I love that. I love that the lipstick's nice and dark, and I love the overall sculpt. It's very menacing looking, and I think that's perfect for Julia. Now, the hair sculpt works great. It's just got the simple curls, but it's definitely resembling her real life hair. And the color is just a plain yellow, and that's the one thing I will say is a little disappointing because the AEW Jazwares line, they usually do the best job of coloring the women's hair. And a lot of times with Mattel, they use just one plain color, one color. They've gotten better adding highlights, adding roots, things like that. But Jazwares has always, for the most part, done a great job of implementing the highlights and the darker root colors. But for this figure, I think that using just one plain color works perfectly, especially because if you have this figure, you're probably going to display her with the hat on. So yeah, I have absolutely no complaints with the head whatsoever. Moving on down to the body sculpt and the attire, and yeah, this figure continues to impress me. I love how the attire is displayed. I love the body sculpt itself, the part choices. This is a near perfect depiction of Julia Hart's physique, in my opinion, and that's something that I truly appreciate with the AEW Jazwares women's figures. If you line up all the women's wrestling figures they've released all in a row, you're going to see a big variety of different midsection torsos, different chest piece sculpts, different lower body sculpts, different leg sizes, even different backside sizes. And what's so cool about that is it gives the figure its own individual identity that represents the real life wrestler they're supposed to depict. And what I mean by that basically is they put a lot of care and attention to detail in the sculpts of these women's wrestling figures to make them look like the real life wrestlers they're supposed to depict, and that's amazing. I think that gets overlooked, and I just wanted to take a minute and talk about that because I really do appreciate and love that. And Mattel makes some amazing women's wrestling figures, but they're very guilty of just reusing parts even when they don't make sense on a women's wrestling figure, and a lot of times they don't show that attention to detail and care that I wish they did. I mean, look at Bianca Belair's figures, for example, in her midsection. Anyway, we're here to talk about Julia Hart's body sculpt and attire, and it looks fantastic. It really does. I think the part choices are great. I think everything from the chest to the torso to the bottoms look amazing. The backside is sculpted uniquely there, and it's very accurate to how her attire looks when she wears it. I think that's excellent. Really cool. Nice character there. Now, looking at this figure, starting with the top here, it is mostly painted on, and most of her attire is on this figure, and that works, and that's great because it is a very tight-fitting attire, so that's the best way to execute that. But we do have some sculpting here. This heart sculpted on the top is a opening here. The outer line in red is a sculpted piece that you can feel. And then we have mesh painted very cleanly over the chest. Mesh chest, that's a tongue twister. The back is just painted black. There's a little fold there. The midsection just has black lines painted on to simulate her attire. Moving on down to the bottoms, they are black painted on the high waist. They go up on her legs there a little bit, and they come down on the sides. And we have really intricate mesh pattern painted on the back side, painted on the front. The arm sleeves are just plain black, but if you turn her around, you can see that it says a black heart in text, and that is an amazing detail. They didn't have to add, but they did, and it is excellent. Also, her nails are painted very intricately with a color combination of red and black. Now, it does, the nail paint might be on a little too big. It almost looks like her tips were dipped in paint, but it's so not noticeable when you're looking at it from a distance, and it's not like her whole finger is colored in the paint, but yeah, maybe that should have been scaled down a little bit, but either way, it looks really cool. Her hands are black to simulate the long sleeve kind of glove type things. Her knee pads are a part of the sculpt, which actually works great. They would have looked too bulky if they were a separate piece, but I think that's excellent. And then she has these boots, which are just simple and black, and she has kick pads that, this is a unique kick pad mold because you can barely see a trace of the kick pad under the outer sleeve here, as you can see, which is a very cool detail. And yeah, so as far as the body sculpt and attire goes, I mean, it's tremendous. I can't say enough good about it. It's excellent. I just love the attention to detail that they give these women's figures in the AEW line. Now, I will say she might be a little bit too tall, but scale, once again, is something I really don't worry about unless it's meant to be paired with another figure. But hey, let's compare this to some AEW women's figures. So next up, I wanted to do a little side-by-side comparison with some other AEW women's wrestling figures that you might want to display next to the Julia and just see how they look together. So on the left, we have Anna Jay's unmatched figure, and her and Julia have had an awesome rivalry, some really cool matches, so I wanted to see how they look together. And on the right, we have the most recent mainline woman released in an AEW action figure line with Jamie Hayter. Now, I'm going to say this first and foremost. I've said it a million times that Jazwares and Mattel are both guilty of taking scale and throwing it out the window. I honestly don't think they go by any scale now. I think they just make their figure, release it, and cross their fingers hoping that it actually is the scale that they want it to be. And there's many instances where the figure is too tall, too short. It's wild to me. I think both companies need to really go back to the drawing board and figure out the calculation to translate a superstar's real life height into the action figure height, because they have seemingly lost that formula that they were using, right? So either way, and like I said, scale is only majorly affected on the channel with my score if the figure is meant to go with another figure and they just look wonky next to each other. Katana, Kaden, Io Sky with damage control, things like that. But here, it's not terrible. It's really not. Now, Julia does appear to be a little too tall. Jamie on the right, she's billed at 5'8". Anna Jay is also billed at 5'8". Julia is billed at 5'7". Now, honestly, it's not a huge difference. I think the one figure that Jazwares released that was just way out of scale and really stood out was Ruby Soho, in my opinion. But other than that, even some of them might not be accurate, but it's not a huge monumental difference, so it doesn't look horrible by any means. So honestly, in this instance, the scale does not affect the score because it does look good displayed next to the other women's figures. But I do think she should have been a little bit shorter, a little bit scaled down. Let's do a little articulation. So with the head, as I mentioned before and what Smart Mark Sterling said in the Major Pod, it appears that it's a different head joint up there. It doesn't pop off very easily, so we're not going to do that. But she does have that dumb neck joint that is useless. She can move a little bit forward and back, but it's a useless joint, everybody. Shoulders on a ball joint, it does ratchet right into place. Feels very, very secure. We have an upper arm swivel, double jointed elbows, maximum flexion. The wrist can go in a circle, it can flex, it can extend. We have the upper torso swivel, which is very good. Waist swivel, hip is on a ball joint, can move in all different directions. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and because knee pads are sculpted on, we have great posability there. Upper boot swivel, and the foot can go down and up. But yeah, so the articulation, just like all the AEW women's figures, honestly, the articulation is awesome. Real quick, I wanted to show you what this figure looks like with the TBS title. Not very good. This TBS title is way oversized. Now, the Jade cargo it comes with, it works okay, but Julia is smaller in stature, so this title is just way too big. It doesn't look good paired with this figure, honestly. So until this TBS title gets released in a smaller scale, I would definitely pass on displaying this Julia with the TBS Championship. So overall, I give AEW Unrivaled Series 16 Julia Hart a perfect score of a 10 out of 10. I can't stress enough how amazing this figure is. Everything from the likeness to the awesome accessories to all the intricate details to make this figure the best Julia Hart figure that Jazwares could have made, in my opinion. I just have zero complaints. The only little gripe that I have is she might be a little too tall as far as her scale goes, but honestly, I don't put the scale into the score unless it affects the display of the figure next to other women's wrestling figures, and this figure looks great on display amongst all the other women's wrestling figures. It is so good, and I'm a little afraid because I think it might get overlooked because it is an AEW Jazwares figure, but like I mentioned before on the channel, don't sleep on these AEW Jazwares women's wrestling figures. The amount of attention and care and detail that's put into them doesn't go unnoticed by me, and this figure is fantastic. If you don't have it, it is currently on backorder on ringsidecollectibles.com. But if you plan on opening it, I would head over to Ringside Collectibles right now. Order one, order two, order a couple if you're going to open it. Now, if you're going to keep it MOC, mint on card, I would wait until you see a mint on card example on eBay or you find it in stores, because I do have an example, this other one, where the hat fell off in the package. It looks a little weird, so I would make sure that the hat's placed on good and it looks good MOC if that's how you're going to display it. But otherwise, run. Don't walk to Ringside Collectibles and get on that back order, because even though you have to wait till January, I promise you it is worth the wait. This figure is absolutely fantastic and deserves to be in the talk for Women's Wrestling Figure of the Year. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. To get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Also, head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV at checkout to save 10% on your next order of women's wrestling figures. Now stay tuned, there are a lot more women's wrestling figure videos coming to LumberJillville the rest of Jill-O-Ween. Thanks for watching and have a great night, y'all.